Frankie Gardiner. And I'd like to welcome you to this little conversation we're going to be having. This is the first time I've ever done this, so forgive me for any kind of screw ups. I'll try my best.
I've ever done it too. So
okay, so we're learning together. That's good. But anyway, we're just chatting a few minutes, and this is again for my students. You live in Vermont, kind of near the capital. How do you say it again?
Montpelier.
Montpelier, yeah. And you say that's kind of central Vermont?
Yes.
Are you out in pretty much kind of a very rural area?
I am in a town that is a resort town. There are 2 ski resorts here, Sugarbush and Mad River Glen. So we have a huge influx of people coming and going from here.
Oh, that's really interesting. So so that's even because there's some famous ski resorts there too, correct?
Yeah, I mean, Sugarbush can have 10,000 people a day. So those are the numbers of people that arrive when, it's mostly during when kids are out of school, actually.
Yeah.
Vacations. All of a sudden we get this huge surge of people, and I like it. I like the variety. I probably wouldn't like living in some remote town, way far away from everybody.
Yeah, well, you probably have decent restaurants and things like that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a perk. That really is.
It is, yeah.
Well, that's cool. So you kind of had the best of both then. Because you showed me the view of your porch, out of your porch and everything. It just looks so.
You want me to show that to the students?
Yeah, I think they'd love to see that.
Just turn it around. I mean, I can't see what you're seeing, but.
Oh yeah, that just looks magnificent. That's gorgeous. Oh. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. Well, I'll have some questions related to your view in a bit, but we were just chatting. I started this video because we were starting a little bit of a conversation about how you got into painting, and I'm kind of curious about exploring that a little bit. You were saying that you were a ceramist initially, and then started doing paintings of pots.
Yes, well, I would say initially, I painted as a child, as all children do. But I really loved it. And people always said to me, you should be an artist. Starting at, I think like in the 3rd grade, people started saying that to me. And so it was always a direction. And I did actually go to the San Francisco Art Institute when I first graduated from high school. But I dropped out. It was 1968, and there was a lot going on in San Francisco in 1968.
Quite a time to be there.
What's that?
It's quite an amazing time to be there.
It was, there was a lot of protesting going on, which, now we have a lot, actually we have a lot more now than back then, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I do. I think so. It seems more, well, we're, because I was a child in the 60s and kind of grew up, and it just seems more sort of expansive and all over. Hey, love. Oh. So my wife just walked into the gallery. I wish you could see her. I don't know why this. Anyway,
hi.
Oh, thank you, dear. Frankie says hi.
Hello,
is that my stuff?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Thank you, dear. Her name's Wilbur.
Of you on Facebook, though.
What's that?
I'm telling her I've seen pictures of her on Facebook.
Oh yeah, she's a lovely soul. So okay, go ahead.
Go from there. So I dropped out of art school in the first semester, and then
I love that, by the way. I think that's wonderful.
Drop out of art school?
Yeah, I think it's great. It's great.
Well, everybody was dropping out then.
Yeah.
But anyways, I ended up, I guess, I was in Boston, and there was this guy, and I'm actually forgetting his name now, but he had a store in Boston where he sold his pottery, and he had these beautiful, huge photographs of kneading the clay, and he had wood burning kiln. He had studied in Japan, so he used all those Japanese techniques, and I just thought it was so beautiful, and I just wanted to go apprentice to him, and so I did for about 4 months, and then went back to Maine, where I had been living, and with my partner, built a kiln and started our own little pottery business. And then eventually I ended up going to Boston University's program in artisanry. And so then I was like studying ceramics in an academic way.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I graduated from that program, and then I got into a ceramics cooperative, and we were all in a huge room together, and someone offered me her private space. I don't know why, she just did. And I got in there and I had a wall to myself. I was sharing it with one other person, but I had this wall and I put up these big pieces of paper on the wall and just started putting clay and probably tempera paint all over it. But then I was also saying to you that I was drawing pots and painting those drawings, and just really wanted to paint. I didn't
Yeah.
want to make the pots anymore. And so I just started painting from there. And did some paper mache sculpture for a while, but eventually I just started painting completely.
You know, one of the things I love about your paintings, and I've really been an admirer for quite a while. I don't know how long. I was trying to remember when I first saw your work. You were
I think it's
primarily,
8 years
yeah, at least,
or
yeah,
maybe even 10. I mean, I've been on Facebook for 10 years.
yeah. Well,
And
and you
it
were
took me a
doing,
little while to find the artists, but once I found them,
yeah,
there you
same
go.
here. But you were mostly doing watercolors back then, if I recall. And one of the things I loved about your painting, and still do, is that it has this just incredibly visceral quality to it. It feels very physical without being, it's not like you're an action painter or anything like that, but there's a kind of a thickness to the painting. And I don't mean thickness literal to the maybe it's thick paint. It's not that. It's like this thickness of space and atmosphere and light. And I
Okay.
just kind of wonder if that's sort of a some kind of there's a relationship there between your early ceramics experience and
I
that.
would say so. I mean, even thinking of those huge photographs I saw of that guy kneading clay,
Yeah,
I was really attracted to moving materials and,
yeah,
the hands moving materials. Well, of course, when you're painting, you're using a brush, but it does get that feeling of the hand. And I think the way I move paint around is a bit like moving clay around.
well, but it's also, I think there's a kind of a, oh, how can I put it? It's not even in the materials. It's more like this. It's more of a, I guess it's just a. I'm struggling with the words a little bit, but there's an atmosphere to your painting that feels both light and heavy at the same time. I don't know how to explain that, but
Here. Can you see it?
yeah, there's just this kind of thickness of space. And I think it was Gustin that talked a lot about that, like the space being thick,
Can you see
thicker.
that?
Yeah, we kind of see it. The lights kind of, yeah, there, that's good. Yeah, yeah. And and I think they're really it's a fantastically unique aspect to your work, and it has something to do with the light that you're representing, you're pulling out of each thing. And I think it's kind of, really wonderful.
Huh. Okay. Well, this is my most recent painting, so it's actually still wet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And I just put a drawing here too. I don't know. Can you see that? It's too
Yeah.
bad the sunlight is now kind of casting in here. But
So do you work from drawings a lot?
I don't work from drawings at all.
Oh, okay. I mean,
I,
do you draw, I assume, do you draw a lot?
sometimes I seem to like to sort of focus in one direction for a while. Like in the wintertime, I'm often working on paper and
Yeah.
drawing and gouache. I like gouache paint. See, again, that's like thicker than watercolor. I don't really use watercolor.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I have a studio in the barn, which is across the road from here, and it's a little hard to get to in the winter. So I tend to work on paper in the house in the winter.
Yeah,
But
that
this
makes sense.
winter, I'm going to try to make myself go over to the barn.
Well, so I guess at least me to a question, and we'll get to some of the questions that the students submitted in a minute, but I'm kind of curious about the relationship, and I speak from my own experience, the relationship between the seasons and the work you create and the look of the work. Do you find you're very sensitive to those changes
Yes,
in your work?
yes, very much.
How in what way? I mean, other than way you just stated, is there anything kind of in terms of the shift in content or shift in?
Well, color, I mean, like this one, can you see this?
Yes, we can see that really well, actually.
Oh, okay. Um, so I just made this a couple of days ago, and I started using red, which I don't usually use that much, but there's red coming in the trees here now.
Yeah,
And so I think that maybe it's just a natural thing that I'm picking up on the colors in the environment. And, you know, particularly in the summer, I'm completely surrounded by green.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm
That's
on
right.
the side of a hill, and there are mountains in the distance, and there's big trees. So there's some sky, but there's really a lot more green than sky color.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Well, and you know, because I think sometimes, because I spent a little time myself, I spent a little time in a city. Most of my life, I've been living out in rural America, and but I think cities are much more controlled environments when it comes to the natural forces. I mean, you still have winter, depending on where your city is, but there's still changes. But they're not as, I don't think they're as dramatic as living in a rural place. So I just wonder if there's, I think there's more of a, I think people that live in places like where you live or where I live kind of respond, or those kind of changes are represented in their work in more pronounced ways, I guess. Do you think that? I mean, do you feel
oh,
that?
definitely, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. Do you think that, I mean, well, do you think, well, I was going to ask you if you think that's good or bad, but that's a dumb question. So, I mean, it's just,
Well,
it is.
I guess that's a matter of opinion, isn't it?
Right, right,
You
right.
know, I mean, I love the natural world, so I like to see that show up in my paintings.
Yeah. Well,
And
and oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'm not very conceptual. I think a lot of conceptual art gets made in urban areas, you know, maybe because there isn't that much nature. You know, it's
Yeah.
you have buildings and you have people and occasionally, you know, parks, but I don't see any people in the country doing conceptual art.
You know, I agree with that, and I think it all, to me, it has something to do with the sort of boundaries we put around our work. Because when I see urban-oriented artwork, it always seems to be like you're looking through a window in some way, or you're looking
Right.
through. Now, that window might be a conceptual window, but there's always this kind of like detachment. Where I think work that's created more in non-urban areas always seems to be just more. The edges seem more expansive or something. I don't, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. That kind of sounds crazy, but the
No, I don't think so at all. I think it makes a lot of sense. I mean, here I am, I'm on my porch there, and it is a screened in porch. So there are all these sort of window shapes that I'm looking at everything. But if I'm outside, there's no boundaries.
right. There's
Just,
like a horizon, maybe, and yeah.
I mean, if I'm going to paint the landscape, I actually have done it outside, but I actually prefer to take a picture and work from the picture
Oh, that's interesting.
because it makes a, you know, it frames it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
mean, the old landscape painters, they had, I forget what they called those things, but it was like
Like a viewfinder thing, right? Like,
it's a viewfinder.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
And I did make a viewfinder once, but I didn't really use it.
Yeah,
It's easier just to take a picture.
well, photography is so simple now. It's like you don't have to wait for your picture to get developed or anything.
Oh, I know.
It's, it's this fluid medium that's actually quite
Yeah,
incredible.
yeah, it is amazing.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Well, the funny thing is, I wouldn't have thought that your work doesn't. I couldn't have guessed that you use photos as a reference as much. It
Oh,
feels
really?
more direct.
This one, actually, the green underneath, there was a painting. You can see the blue sky and the green. It was all green and then blue up here. And I didn't really like it. You know, I made it last summer sometime. And
Yeah,
so then I just started adding these sort of blotches of colors. And then I wanted to, we have this old apple tree that just came down, you know.
yeah. We had a few of
So I
those.
just was thinking of it. So it, you know, I was thinking of a tree, but then I think it turns into a figure.
Yeah, I kept thinking it was almost like a crucified figure, even. You know, it has a kind of a,
Yes,
right. I don't
yes,
know if that's a reference, but
yeah. I
it,
wasn't thinking of that. I was just thinking of a tree.
yeah,
And this is one of the things I love about painting is that you can be doing something and then something else can come into it that you weren't planning. That I find really fascinating about.
I love that. I love that you said
Yeah.
that.
Oh,
Because,
that's
you know,
why I wanted to show this one. Like this one, I was working from a photo of the upstairs. There's this a window way back here, and it was at 6 a.m. and this pink light was coming in. So it's kind of painted abstractly, but it is a very specific place. And there was a pink chair there with some clothes on it, and
yeah.
so that's a different. But I mean, even this, like the clothing, sort of turns into something else. It's just how I like to paint. I don't like to be too specific.
Well,
I think it's good to have. What?
I agree with you on that. I mean, I think that's one of the
Yeah.
beautiful things about painting is that there's this well, I like what I always say to my students is you're thinking with your hands. You know, you're making something and thinking with your hands, and you're trying to create something that could go this way or could go that way at any second.
That's interesting. Yeah, thinking with your hands. I like that.
Yeah. Well, hey, can I ask you some of the students' questions?
Sure. Yep.
Okay, I'm just going to kind of go down the list if you don't mind. If you don't want to answer a question, just say you don't want to answer it. That's fine with me.
Okay.
So the first one there is, how does scale or size affect or relate to your work?
Oh, interesting. I didn't get that question.
Oh, okay.
But that's okay. Let me think. Say it again, and I'll try to answer.
Okay, how does scale or size affect or relate to your work?
Scale of what you're painting?
Yeah, or the scale of the painting. Like you tend to use, I think you make me over, I haven't seen your work in person, but generally you work on a fairly small scale, correct?
I do, and I have one over here. I just thought it might be interesting to have one big one, and I'll just hold it up here. This is probably the biggest painting.
Oh, wow.
Can you see the whole thing?
Yeah, that's a beauty. Is that finished?
I don't know. I made it, and I didn't think it was finished. And then this is a giveaway secret here.
Yeah, go for it.
I make a painting like this one. I made it, and it just sat in my studio on the wall for probably a good month or more. And I really liked it, but I kept thinking it needed something more. But then I thought, I really like it the way it is. And so I thought, I'm going to just put it up on Instagram. And I got a pretty overwhelming positive response.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, maybe it's okay the way it is. And actually, that is one of the questions that you did give me. How do you know when a painting is finished?
Oh, yeah. You want to go ahead with that? That'd be a good segue into that one.
Yeah, I don't know when it's finished. And a lot of times I really do just post it on Facebook, or and now I'm tending to post on Instagram, and then later on a bunch on Facebook. But losing my train of thought here.
Oh, whether you know it's done or not, or?
Oh yeah, I think it's sort of a feeling. This is getting windy here. Like this one, it was pretty obvious to me that that was done.
Yeah.
I just was like, yeah, I could fool around with that. I could make more crisp edges or whatever, but it just seemed complete.
Yep.
And this one feels a little incomplete to me. So I could mess around with it. But the thing that happens, if I do, like if I was to start adding some more colors or shapes or something, I would lose that.
Yeah.
It just happens. You put something here and all of this changes, and I end up covering the whole thing.
Yeah.
So I do tend to work on a painting for the final surface, I would say 15 minutes, half an hour max.
Okay.
I'm working wet into wet, so it's pretty fast.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't know how to add a little bit of color here. I mean, I guess you could make a line, but
well, I'm always suspicious of an artist that knows when their work is done. to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like, oh, what? It just seems to be, that seems to be more like they're solving, like they're thinking of a problem that they solved and they solved it and they know that they solved it. I don't know. It's like a math problem or something maybe, or I
Right.
don't
Right.
know.
Yeah. It's a different way of painting. You know.
Yeah, yeah, maybe it is. It's just, but and it's kind of foreign to most of us, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I think the photograph has really taken that job well,
Yeah,
to depict things really well, and I think painting is more, the value of it is more what you can bring to that image that is more than just the image.
right, right, right,
I
right.
don't know if that's coming
Okay,
clearly or not.
let's
It's
see.
a, you know, it's a something, I don't know, where is it coming from? Is it coming from inside yourself, or, you know, people have idea concepts of muses. Is there a muse that's speaking to you, or,
Mhm.
you know, who knows? I don't know where it comes from, and I am often very surprised. Like this was just a total surprise. Why did this crucified figure come into this?
Right.
Why? You know, and everybody sees it, you know, because I posted it on Instagram, and um, well, just one person, Bashaman, you know her.
Oh, sure.
She commented. She said, oh, I'm really sorry, Frankie, but I see a crucifix here, crucifixion. I hope that doesn't bother you. And I was like, no, I don't mind at all. I saw it too.
It's just there.
Well, you know, I think the crucifix or crucifixion is sort of a complicated subject to deal with today.
Yes.
We don't have, you know, a Judeo-Christian perspective on life so much anymore. I mean, some
Right.
people do, but everything is just expanding, and we're including so many different things that, well, and I think a lot of people have a negative view of the Judeo-Christian traditions.
Yep.
I don't personally. So when I saw this, because I've actually always wanted to paint Christ on the cross, and I just never did, and it just seemed like um, such a an immense subject and so potent. Like, how could you possibly paint it?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it kind of reminds me of a Beckman painting. There's a Beckman with a crucifixion, maybe a couple of them, but
This
there's a
one
kind of,
does.
yeah, yeah. There's kind of a feel that's very similar, and it's definitely a fraught subject for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also a rich subject that taps into
Yeah.
a tremendous amount of history and culture, and
Yeah. I mean, if
potential
you think
tension.
about the meaning of it, it is very, very rich.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And so it's that it didn't. I mean, I saw it right away myself, but it's not
Yeah.
something that bothered me or anything at all.
But did you feel reluctant to say that was
Uh,
not really?
yeah, kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's such a difficult subject right now.
Right, right, right. And I didn't want to like put. I guess it's the kind of thing where I didn't want to lay my trip on you. You know what I mean? It sounds stupid, but I didn't want to like interpret your art. No, but that's what it's for, obviously. So it's
Well, I kind of like to make paintings in a way that people can bring their own interpretation.
oh yeah, yeah,
Like, I don't have a fixed interpretation, and I think that's sort of the difference of what we were talking about before. Some people paint like they have a specific subject and they paint it, and that's that.
right.
I like all those little things that come in.
The kind of metaphorical things.
Yeah, the little surprises.
You know, it's really interesting that you talk about that, and I think it's really beneficial for my students to hear that, because I think, and maybe you remember if this when you were a student, but students are very much about, they want to know how to do it, like how to do it. This is how, and I always tell them that they're not here to learn how to do it. Well, I won't teach them how to do it. I'll teach them why to do it as best I can. And, but I think they think like a professional artist like yourself just kind of knows how to do everything, how to do it. This is how, and it's really great to hear you be very open and honest about the potential for multiple meanings of a single work that you created.
Yeah, I'm going to get one more painting that.
Oh, sure.
See that one?
Oh yeah, I saw that one on, I think, Facebook, maybe Instagram. Yeah, I love that.
So that one is totally from the imagination. But you can
Yeah.
see there's kind of a room, and then I don't know why I started to put this horse in here, and then the wing, and then there's this little bird on its rear end, and what's this leg, and
Yeah,
that, that's an example of something that I did not start with a photograph.
oh yeah, I really. Do you think you're gonna like? How often do you work from a photo versus not work? How often do you do that?
More often I work with a photo.
Okay. Do you think that? Do you have a sense that might be this kind of painting that you just referred to as not working from a photo? Do you think that might be something that's kind of going to start happening more? Do you have a sense about that, or?
I used to do it all the time. I
Oh,
didn't
okay.
used to use a photograph at all. And um, I felt like I wanted to try to bring in something to ground it. Like I have a very uh, strong imagination. So I don't need photos.
Right, right.
But other people need something that can look like something a little bit, like this one. It does look like some kind of a horse with a wing, and
Right, right.
so I can do that easily.
Well, it feels very mythological.
Yeah.
You know, it taps into that sort of history or tradition.
So yeah, these are like three different ways of painting. Like this is just from a photo. It's a real place.
Mm-hmm.
My upstairs of my house. This is imagination, so it gets into all that myth stuff. And then this is maybe similar to this. Um, I particularly love to paint this way. And I've actually had a fair number of sales this year. And I was thinking about the ones that have sold. Um, and I think most of them are from photographs.
Yeah, yeah. And congratulations. That's wonderful to hear.
Oh, no, it's great.
Really
But
great.
interesting that that's sort of what people can relate to the best. I mean, I think you and I can relate to these because we know
Yeah.
the history of
The
painting,
painters.
and
Yeah,
but nobody wants to buy these two.
yeah, yeah.
But this one's already sold.
Oh, cool.
That sold like as soon as I put it up.
Oh, awesome.
So I'm just saying that's what people want.
Yeah.
They want something that looks like something.
Yeah,
Oh,
they do. They do.
I mean, I guess it's not just because this does look like a horse, but it looks like something in the real world. I guess that's what I mean.
Well, there's associations created by one that are different than the other.
Right.
So like the associations, when I look at the chair, the pink chair in the hallway, I mean, I see a room with light, and I can get into, if I start working at it a bit more, I can imagine all kinds of other things. But the other two, kind of, the associations are multiple, in different, in very, and they feel, oh, just more layered, I guess, is the way to
Yeah,
think
more
about it for me.
content, much
Yeah,
more content. I mean, this
yeah,
is
yeah.
not a lot. That's just light, really, early morning light. We had a
Which
quick.
is a beautiful subject in itself, and that's
It
fine.
is, yeah, and I am very fascinated with light. So
Yeah,
I do have sort of different bodies of work. And
yeah,
some of them are just light in an environment, reflecting in an environment. Um, yeah, I mean, I probably will never choose just one or the other.
oh, I don't think you should. I mean, I work
Yeah.
in multiple formats too. I think
And
one of go ahead, I'm sorry.
I think they're kind of interesting altogether.
I do too. I do too.
Yeah, it's just
Well,
variety.
Well, I think we live in an age where we can, be a country musician one night and be a jazz musician the next night. You know what I mean? There's just like, it's just the sort of privilege of our age that we don't have to do Jesus on the cross every day, like, right. So, that at one point, that's the only kind of painting you could do is religious painting, period. If you're Western and all that kind of stuff. But we live in this age of multiple perspectives, and it's kind of extraordinary. I mean, it's fraught because then we end up with, well, we won't get into politics, but it's it's difficult. So okay, so I have can I ask you a question about naivete?
Sure.
So, and because I think this might be some questions that I forgot to send you, so that you might not have seen this one. But it's, would a sense of naivete be an accurate way to describe your work? And then why or why not? And then the student follows up. Is there an idea of naivete at play in your work?
Definitely.
Okay.
I'm very attracted to what they call outsider art,
Yes.
which does tend to have a naive quality. And I also love children's art. I mean, I really love children's art. Whenever I see it, it's just like, it's so direct and, you know, no doubt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you 100%. Yeah.
And
Well,
I don't know why, but I do have this naive quality in my art. And I think, you know, how come? Like, am I naive? Maybe I am.
Well, you know, I've been thinking about this question since the student submitted it. And, you know, I kind of was like thinking, I just kind of think the word naive should be sort of banned because I think it's an idea that has always been in relationship to Western painting, which is like skill-based. You know, there's this kind of skill-based Western painting that's supposedly like not naive. And then there's naive, and naive is unschooled and all that kind of junk. And I just completely disagree with the premise of that sort of relationship. What?
Yeah. And then there's, you know, there are some artists that, like Copley, what's his name, John Singleton Copley.
Yep.
His first portraits were very naive.
Yes,
and as the years went by, he learned how to have, you know, more, I don't know, technique that makes it more realistic.
Well, there's an art.
That's what it is. Realism does not look naive.
Right. So well, the artwork that doesn't look naive, kind of, to me anyway, at least for us Western trained artists, the artwork that doesn't seem naive comes from this Western tradition that kind of comes out of the Renaissance. And so it's a really limited lens. Do you know the artist? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Giotto is one of my favorite.
Oh, mine too. God, yes.
And I would say that I don't know if naive would be the right quality. I mean, the right word, but there's a quality in his work that is also in untrained artists. And
yes.
like his spirit comes through, you know, and whereas some of the later Western European painters, you don't so much feel their spirit, you feel more all this technique.
Right.
Accomplished, you know, but of course, you know, the greatest painters, I think, do have that quality of spirit. I think that's.
Well, I was thinking about Rembrandt. You know, I'm a real Rembrandt fan, and he's obviously super skilled. But then I think it has to do with a sense of humility that comes across in the work as the artist kind of is empathetic to the subject matter with that, whatever that is.
That's
so, yeah. Okay, that's there was another thought I had and it just slipped out of my head. I wish you could see me. I got to figure out how to do this because I wish you could see my face on your side because I'm nodding constantly and it's not exactly a conversation that is fair. So I apologize for that.
Why isn't it fair?
What's that?
Why isn't it fair? Because I can't see you.
Because you can't see me. So because I'm nodding vigorously about pretty much everything you're saying.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so here's a question that I want to ask you that I really like. The student is particularly moved by response to recent events. A painting called that? Was that a painting, response to recent events?
Which painting?
Response to recent events.
Does my painting respond to recent events?
No, there's a painting called that. Is there a painting called that?
Of mine?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Well, that's weird.
Oh, it might be, yes. But it's quite old, I think. Like
okay.
It's old.
Then maybe it's hard to address her question.
I think I do remember that one. It's like a lot of sort of red, red brownish, and there's a figure, and it's more in this type of style.
Okay, it must be on your website.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I have quite a few years now of paintings on there. So it could have been made like 2 or 3 years ago.
She's just curious about your process.
that definitely was a response to, and I can't remember what was going on. I'd have to, I mean, I could even look on my cell phone, but
Oh, that's, okay.
what year it was made, and if I have it posted, I could see the month, and then I could remember maybe what was going on at that time. I mean,
Well,
I'm not, I don't feel I'm responding to current events right now, although maybe this figure here that's being crucified, maybe that is a response to
well,
what's happening right now.
well, actually, I think there's a good question there, because I think a lot of artists, you have your artists that are overtly political, but then you have artists that don't seem to be political. And I would
Right.
kind of put myself in that category, and I'd put you in that category too.
Yep.
But I think we still respond to the politics of the time, but it just kind of seeps in at a different rate than, like I'd love to
More
do.
emotional.
What's that?
It's more emotional, I think.
Yeah, yeah. Is that and so do you find yourself, like, I find myself sort of going, like, right now I'm doing a whole bunch of like storm paintings, just storm water. That's, and I think the connection's really clear.
Yeah, yeah, it's
But
very.
it's not like I'm painting pictures of Donald Trump drowning or something like that. That'd be stupid to do.
I know, but some people are.
Yeah, they are, and I totally respect that. But I just can't do that. I mean, do you feel that way too?
Oh, definitely. I mean, because I think I want to make paintings that can transcend the time.
Yeah,
What's going on right now, the pain and the suffering is pretty universal throughout the ages.
yes,
So if you have something like a crucifixion, I mean, this doesn't even have to be Christ, really. I mean, they used to crucify people.
right,
And really, I feel everybody's getting crucified right now. I
yeah,
mean, um, the Republicans, the Democrats, everybody. It's more with words.
right.
We don't actually hang someone on a cross anymore, but
Well, and of course, there's people like George Floyd who gets murdered, and I mean, literally, not physically crucified, but he might as well have been. So it's happening in front of us too.
George Bush.
George Floyd here in
Oh, Floyd,
Minneapolis.
right,
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, no,
So
that was
it's
very, very bizarre and very strange that we actually got to see it.
yes, yes. It's
Yeah,
extraordinary. I haven't watched it. I refuse to watch it. I just can't.
yeah. I
Uh,
didn't watch it either, but I saw
yeah,
still.
yeah. I saw the photographs, and
Yeah,
it's incredibly
yeah.
painful.
I
And
didn't. I didn't want to watch it. I don't need to watch someone be killed.
yeah. So I think, I always like to just say, I think any serious artist is political in some way or another. Their work is generated by politics or responds to politics. It just is at a different pace.
Right.
Maybe it's not an illustration of an issue, or I mean, I think of somebody like Sue Coe, who I love her painting. I don't know if you're familiar with her artwork, but
Oh,
Sue Coe. They're basically she was an editorial cartoonist for the New York Times for years, and then she just kind of shifted into making large scale paintings, and they pretty much look a lot like her editorial cartoons. And they're amazing paintings, but again, they're very much, this issue, very direct. I just can't even think that way. Everything, if I think of anything like that, it looks stupid, I think. So, and I feel like you're kind of in the same category, the same boat
I
politically.
think maybe you have more of a sense of humor.
Well, maybe, yeah. I think I maybe do, just as an individual. Maybe. Of course,
Oh,
I can't. That's a dumb thing to say. Humor is a big part of what I do. Yes.
yeah. I mean, I think it's really important, and it's why I can't make a totally serious painting.
Yeah. 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 No, I think that's. Oh, I don't know. I think your paintings are pretty serious.
But that's pretty funny, really.
Well, that's true. That's true.
It
Yeah, that's true.
is funny.
No, I think your paintings are just spot on almost every time.
Wow, thank you.
Oh, of course. That's why I wanted to chat with you. And I think we should probably wrap it up if you don't mind.
I hope you're going to edit this because it's very long.
How long? I think we're just at 45 minutes or so. So I'll probably cut off some of the end and everything. I'm going to actually stop recording. So I'm going to say, but I'm not going to stop the chatting with you. So I'm going to say thank you for being part of my class, Frankie. I really appreciate it. And
Thank you for inviting me.
I've really enjoyed getting to know you and
Yeah.
work. So.
That's fun.
Okay.